Thank you very much. So I think we've all had some kind of training in umpiring, whether that's academic or practical. And I think for most of us who've been in this for quite a number of years, we have certainly had more practical training than academic. So I think the academic is a really exciting new trend that's coming through, especially with officially accredited courses. But without further ado, I would like everyone to just introduce themselves fully to everyone watching, and then we can get into the discussion. Would you start, Marko?
Yeah, I would gladly start. So my name is Marko Fritz. I'm coming from Austria. I'm currently in a volunteering position as sport lead in the ESVÖ. And I'm also a referee and a referee instructor, both for ESVÖ and for IESF. And I also helped with the newly academic courses in the IESF Academy for the referee education courses.
Pedro?
Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Gomes. I am a product manager for Inygon. I'm from Portugal. And currently, I focus on managing competitions for amateur players and also help train other referees candidates at a company level. And I started as a referee for 5 years ago. So I have a bit of experience in refereeing competitions at both national, amateur, and professional level.
Perfect. Buğrahan, you like go?
Yeah. Greetings, everyone. My name is Buğrahan Kacar. I'm from Turkey. I am the founder of OPTIMI Esports Agency. I started to improve my esports knowledge base at Bahçeşehir University from Istanbul. When you have unique opportunities, it's easier to follow a solid career path. When I was a student, I took an offer from Riot Games Turkey to become referee in a Turkish Championship League. Thus, I started my professional career at Riot Games, then continued with ESL, and finally, I established my esports agency to provide esports services, and I am so glad to be here.
Great stuff. So I think let's start getting into it with the discussion on the academic training of umpires and referees. So let's start with some opinions. Buğrahan, would you take it from the start on the question and share with us your opinion on whether it helps and supports esports referees, training them academically?
Yeah, sure. I think the answer is yes, but I think we should talk about first what kind of education is mentioned here. Is it esports education, or is it just a classic university department education, such as engineering, psychology, law, business administration, etc.? I graduated from Bahçeşehir University, and my department was International Relations and Political Science. Let's handle my university department education. I believe that this department contributes lots of things in terms of my personal development. In general, we know that education raises awareness and brings discipline to the people. But I think this type of education is not enough for being a referee. On the other hand, I was the lucky one who took an esports education from leading experts in their areas in my university. It altered lots of things in my career development. It gives me a head start on finding a job in this little sector in Turkey. I participate in the gaming industry and esports course at the university. Riot Games Turkey's employee world instructors. Also, we had an esports center at the university. In this place, I found lots of opportunities to improve myself in the esports sector. For example, tournament management, team management, project management, live operation management. When I started a job in Riot Games or ESL, I felt like, okay, I know this, I know what to do, I knew how I make a difference. For example, if I didn't get a big tournament management experience during my university sport works, I am sure that it would be tougher to adapt myself to be Riot Games referee. in World Esports, we organized Turkey's the biggest high school tournament, and I was the head referee. It was big opportunity and chance to me. I think to sum up, we can say that practical experience is so crucial.
I definitely agree with that, and I'm sure most people do. It is a big adjustment and a learning curve when you actually get to the practical events, refereeing, and dealing with all the different players and nuances of hosting the events as referees in esports. Marko, I know you have an interesting background as you've come up refereeing and how you have been trained and your background now in the. Would you mind sharing your opinion on whether it helps or supports referees, training them academically?
Yeah, as mentioned before, I think it's important to be educated in a way so that you learn how the basics can be. I mean, the important thing by referees is that you mostly learn by doing, yeah. But some things like tournament management, tournament formats, rule sets, rule books, or certain oddities which can occur during online, offline tournaments that can be taught, per slides, presentations, and so on. And you can even do sort of licensing system. And if it's gonna be up to be like academic studies or something, maybe that's up to the future how it will develop. And but I think one most important point is also that we should set standards during education, in a normal way, licensing system, or either in an academic way, worldwide, and also together, so that, I mean, umpiring, sure, of course, in normal physical sports, we have certain standards, of course, internationally and nationally, and those should also be taught in an educational way. But we shouldn't forget also the practical experience, which is very essential for being an umpire. And that's why you should also have like a certain system, like, okay, we have the basics, then you are a junior, then you get learn from the seniors. And also we have continuous educational courses also for senior referees, for example, because esports is a quick changing system, new games come up, new oddities are, and I think education, to come up to an end, education is very important, and we should set up a standard system how this education should look like, and we should go for it in future.
Very interesting points on the academic stance of both what's required at university level and that impact on your referee capabilities, and also on what the actual courses should look like. Pedro, do you think that it is important for referees to have experience as players to be better referees, or what impact would that have on it?
Do I think it is important? I think it certainly does help. It certainly is a helpful skill, a helpful capacity to have that type of experience. But I would say it is not 100% crucial, as in you need 100% to have been a player or to have had that experience. I'm a good example of that, in the sense that I was never a competitive level player. I was a casual player at most. I do not have experience at a competitive level, and although it certainly does help to have a player's perspective on when you're refereeing, because you can understand where they're coming from, their point of view, there are other ways that you can acquire experience aside from that, which would be, for example, doing a lot of research, doing your work, studying the game, trying to learn from others, from what has been done before in other tournaments and competitions. As long as you do that kind of work, as long as you do research, in which case the skills that have been mentioned by our colleagues here will certainly come in handy, because you will need to know what to look for, how to do that work, how to do that research, what kind of sources of information can you rely on in order to get the information that you need. Languages is something that most definitely also helps when it comes to doing research work, because at least in my case, most of the research material I come across is in another language. So it is certainly useful to have those skill sets, and I would say it is not 100% necessary. One solution that can happen is, for example, if you're in a situation in a competition where you would need the input of an expert, someone who understands the game. Generally, if it's a very specific situation that you do not know exactly what to do, you have some questions, you will have other colleagues around you. For example, a head referee, or even you can have experts on call. We have had situations while working as a referee where we literally needed to call in experts in the game in order to get their opinion from a player's standpoint. So if it comes to a kind of situation like that, that is one of the possible solutions. But you do not need 100% to have been a player at a competitive level in order to be a referee. It does help if you have the opportunity or the skill set to have that experience. Great, it will certainly help you, but it is not 100% necessary, in my opinion.
I definitely agree. I think it's very beneficial when you do have some player experience in the specific game that you're working on. If it's anything to just sort out the technical issues and navigate some of the screens on the game and some of the general kind of mapping issues that might come across when you have in-person tournaments or online. Buğrahan, what do you think should be taught in both an academic and a practical way to referees?
I think league operations or league ops can be taught to the referees. They should understand how a league or tournament is managed. Also, communication skills are so crucial. It can be taught. Esports team operation can be taught to understand better team managers and the players. In order to increase technical know-how, maybe basic computer science can be taught. They should know basic things about computers or mobiles or, I don't know, communication applications that gamers use, especially Discord and TeamSpeak. Dynamics of tournament bracket software can be taught. At first, you can show them some guides to teach theoretical aspects. Then you can ask to create a tournament at these platforms. Also, rule writing is a crucial part of refereeing. In order to learn rule writing, they should read and understand some official tournament rules. They must understand the reason behind these rules. Then they must try to write rules for following tournaments. Teaching analytical thinking skills is crucial at rule writing. When you write a rule set, you have to think about everything that you can face before the game, during the game, and after the game. And finally, I am not very happy to suggest that, but we all know there are some hacks and exploits in the games. That's why we need to teach all the referees to be aware of it. And they need to constantly learn new hacks and exploits to prevent.
Marko, in your experience, do you agree with Buğrahan? I know you have done quite a few events, especially online in the last year. So why don't you tell us more?
Yeah, I mean, I can only agree with it. This is very important to teach the basic stuff of which comes all around with a tournament, like also Leah mentioned before in the keynote. We in Austria, we are also like the big helpers in the background. We help with basic tournament organization, event management. And I also think that social skills are one of the most important points here that should be taught to every referee. Also, my beloved word is empathy. So showing empathy against everyone who is participating in the tournament. Also, yeah, I mean, it is also good. I mean, I'm coming also from a little paramedic background. I sometimes had some situations on offline events that some players didn't feel good or they hurt them, yeah, because there was not enough secured space or, yeah. So really, you have a lot of topics which should be also covered and which could be taught also, like IT skills are very important, like how behave different operating systems. I think Linux is getting more important now in operating systems during game industry. And yeah, it's you see there are a lot of things which also are taught in some academic courses, yeah, so in academic studies. And if you start in one, like project management or IT studies or anything else, it can help for your referee career, of course, yeah. But yeah, as Buğrahan said, I totally agree with his points, 100%.
I definitely agree, and I think one of the essential skills when refereeing these tournaments is being able to resolve and de-escalate conflicts between players whenever there's any disputes. I think handling those situations especially can be quite crucial. But in hindsight of that, we have had COVID and the pandemic over the last few months and more than a year now. So our realm has shifted even more online than before, and that has definitely caused a new environment that we have to adapt to. We've had obviously online tournaments before, but I think the focus has been placed more on it. So what do you think has happened, and what's the impact that's been put on esports by COVID in terms of the way that referees have to adapt to the new situation? Pedro, would you like to weigh in first?
I think it definitely has caused a significant change in the way things are. From my standpoint, I've been doing for the last year. I actually did 100% of my work in tournaments completely online, and it is definitely a different experience, a different situation than doing it in live events. And there are a number of things that can happen while refereeing online that you may not have as much control as in a live event, in my opinion. For the mere fact that at a live event, you're physically there to support the player. If the player has a technical issue, if the player needs something, you can intervene physically if you need to try and help him solve that problem. And online, you lose a significant part of that control unless somehow via software you take control of the player's computer. You lose a big part, and you're dependent on him taking the necessary action if he's having a technical issue, for example, with his mouse, his keyboard, his internet. That is all on his side. And since you're online, you're not sharing the same physical space. You're dependent on him taking the necessary action. You can advise him, you can help him, but you're dependent on him solving the problem, and you're not sure of how long it may or may not take, which is when your communication skills and your capability to communicate the situation, not only to the player himself or the players themselves, but to the team that is working with you will come into play. You will need to communicate. Hey guys, sorry, we're having an issue. It may take this many minutes to solve. We're going to need a few minutes. Maybe you should consider taking a break or not. You will need to be precise in the information you communicate to the player, to your work colleagues. So in order that things don't get any worse, or no more problems are created, the more precise you can communicate information, you will be able to help the player better, and you will be able to coordinate with the team that is working with you. So in that situation, using the communication softwares that were referred and using your communication and social skills will certainly come into play.
Marko, in Austria, what do you think has been some of the key factors that has been taught to umpires amidst COVID and adapting to the new type of format where everything is online?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got more experience how to handle online tournaments, of course, but it was also very funny to see. For me, I got a new kind of experience, like in esport mobile games, like a Clash Royale or Brawl Stars. They are very common esport games now in Europe. And how to handle this online, because you have your smartphone where you are connected with the lobbies and so on, but you also have communication tools like Discord or TeamSpeak. And yeah, it was a quite interesting challenge, but of course, what helped me was that I was very known among the players, so they knew who is with them. And also they got to know the team also I'm working with, and it was quite good actually. So we really came closer together with the players, with the organizers, because we had to manage more different kind of topics. I mean, this whole cable management, and if the internet connection on the venue is very bad, this fell away, yeah. And also, like Pedro mentioned, when some player had problems, we had to solve this via some software solutions if we couldn't help them with our basic advices. Gladly, I had this only to do once, to connect via software and to figure out the issue. It was maybe a bad configuration in the configuration file, but as an umpire or referee, you have to know that this is a configuration file error in the game, so that he installed the game in the wrong way. But if you never had this experience before, you never came up with the solution. So then the player wouldn't have the chance to participate in this tournament. So it's also kind of exciting that you always come up with new problems in the whole esport tournaments, even offline and online. And also COVID showed us that it is gladly possible to continue with the tournaments in esports. It's a very positive aspect. But yeah, of course, new challenges came up, but I think we can solve everything with experience and yeah, good teamwork and social skills.
I agree. And Pedro and Marko both touched on the software, but I know, Buğrahan, you guys use a lot of technical software to do all the different types of verification and to ensure integrity among the tournaments online. And I think it would be very beneficial if you could run through some of those initial procedures and some of the technical bits that can be used online that normally wouldn't be used in offline tournaments before COVID.
Yeah, definitely. During the COVID term, we see the importance of remote access softwares, actually. In these times, we need these kind of softwares more than usual times. Sometimes you need these softwares to check players' computer for tournament safety. Sometimes you need these softwares to solve players' problems. But of course, we have to get permission from the players to connect to their PCs. Also, I want to say that my standpoint, COVID-19 doesn't change most of the things for online events. It just prevents most of the offline events. But I missed the winter final of League of Legends because of the COVID, and I was the referee. I didn't get COVID, actually, but my friend got it, and I spent time with her, so I should have been more careful.
I think it's definitely created quite a few unique situations, and I think with the world starting to return back to some form of normalcy, or rather adapting to the ongoing situation, what kind of environment do you think can be created for the continuous opportunities for referees in esports?
There are already systems that can be taken as an example. When we look at the traditional sports, we see that all the referees are affiliated with national federations. As such, like environments can be built for esports. Esports federations can give refereeing licenses with training courses. All game companies and tournament organizers can be subject to esports federations regulations. But these regulations have to be prepared with game owners and well-known tournament organizers, because we all know that there are owners of this sport. They are owners of these digital games. We cannot ignore them. I don't think that companies can create fair and enough opportunities to the ones who want to be referee. Besides, these companies mostly don't train their referees. I know it. They desire to employ the experienced one most of the time. That's why federation's role is very significant to create an environment for referees. Federations can provide refereeing training for everyone. Thus, accessibility increases. Federation can assign these trained referees to the matches, tournaments, or leagues. More referees can find an opportunity to take part in refereeing. Besides, esports federations can observe these esports organizations via referees. Right now, there is no inspection system outside the game firm or tournament organization company. You can't observe what's going on inside in these tournaments if you don't work there. I think this is problematic. Finally, federations can establish referee committees for each province or states. In this way, referees can take charge of local esports events.
Very interesting. I know, Marko, you guys have a pretty good environment and infrastructure being set up in Austria. Can you explain us a bit more about what the environment is that ESVÖ is creating for the continuous opportunities of referees?
Yeah, I mean, we started educating referees in 2010, and we provide them basically for everyone. So everyone has access to it, even if you are not in a member club or organization of the federation. So we don't say, okay, you are not a member of anything of our members, so you cannot participate. No, we have it for everyone open, so everyone is welcome. And as Buğrahan said, it is important also to search the contact to the tournament organizers and to the publishers. It's a crucial also for the worldwide development, for the settings and everything, because as I experienced in the last years, we are all coming together in a closer way in like international tournaments and so on. And we need to build up together a structure with everyone at the table. And in Austria, we have a good environment considering this with the tournament organizers, because they get their licenses from the publishers, FIC, and so yeah, they then hire us to help with the tournament organization and so on. And it's a very good ground because we are very open communicating with everyone and everybody. But for worldwide development and for the betterment in the future, it's crucial to also include the publishers, the game owner, more, and that they see, okay, they have a vision, and it's, I mean, in the end, what we want better infrastructure for esports, yeah, and that includes everyone, every stakeholder in every environment, economical and so on. And yeah, we have to sit together and to discuss the things that everyone agrees with, because if we don't do this, we have yeah, a lot of problems, and we will be in a state like it is now, and we shouldn't aim for that. Yeah.
And Pedro, in Portugal, what's your opinion on what kind of environment can be established locally to start getting umpires into new opportunities?
I believe that for the specific case of Portugal, certainly we do need to keep developing and keep evolving in terms of regulation and in terms of creating a structure where this is a very important aspect for me as I'm doing my job as a referee, which is to create an environment in which I feel safe to actually perform my job, safe to make decisions. I need to feel safe that as I am refereeing a certain match, I am protected by a structure that is behind me in terms of rule sets, in terms of my work environment, the team surrounding me, that if I have to make a certain decision, take a certain step, I am okay to do it. I have support behind me and a structure that makes me feel confident when it comes to doing so. Many times as a referee, you will have to make difficult decisions or take difficult steps. As a referee, honestly, I take no pleasure in having to make hard decisions such as being forced to disqualify a team or to penalize a player on a certain subject. And sometimes you will inevitably as a referee at some point in time deal with those kind of situations. We have had situations as referees in which there was no perfect solution, in which someone was going to get sort of an expression, but it would get the bad side of things. A team would end up being penalized, or a player. Doesn't matter what you would do. And it is important that referees, when they are doing their jobs, they feel like, okay, I can do my job in a safe environment. I can make my decisions and know that I am supported, that if I need help, there is a team of people behind me. There is a structure when it comes to rule sets, to regulations, to terms that can be established to protect a referee, both in a job wise and also in a psychological um, standpoint, because this is not an easy job to do psychologically. In my opinion, the psychological factor of being a referee sometimes is very complicated, because you are put many times in very tense and complicated situations when dealing with teams and players, and that safety aspect is essential for me. And I think that that is certainly not one of the aspects that can and has been evolving in Portugal and will keep evolving in the future. And I think that by doing that, by establishing a sound structure in that way, there will certainly be more opportunities. Referees and candidates will be even more interested in experiencing and in trying it, because they will feel like, okay, I don't have to be afraid of getting into a complicated situation, or on receiving some kind of disgruntled speech or hate speech because I'm doing my job. I am protected.
I definitely think that's important as well. And I think we're nearing the end of our panel. So before we start heading into Q&A, I would like to just have everyone kind of discuss what they think would be the ideal factors in an academic umpire course. Buğrahan, would you mind starting us off?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What's the ideal factors in an academic umpires course for referees?
Okay. As I said before, I think it should be more practical, because you can't learn esports theoretically, because already you play the game, you participate in tournaments. That's why if you want to be referee, you need some practical experience. In order to get this, I think you should start first voluntarily jobs. I'm sure that you can find these opportunities if you look at in LinkedIn or somewhere else. And also esports club in the university. Student clubs also a good position to start being a referee. I really suggest that if you're a university student and if you want to be part of the esports sector, you can start with university esports student clubs, and I think you can join the moderation of the esports club, and then I think you can help to manage these kind of tournaments as a referee or tournament organizer. And then you can gain these kind of experiences.
Perfect. Marko, what do you think are the ideal factors in an academic referees course?
Yeah, I think as Buğrahan said, you have to learn some basics on the how things are done. Yeah, how the general aspects of managing an event, and what is the rule set, and how to apply, and what is important. So those are the key factors which should be taught. So important points, and maybe things or special cases which occurred from experience from others who are teaching the course. Yeah, is always good, but it's also essential, yeah, to get this, yeah, how would I say this, standard, how are things done in an educational way, and then you have a good basis on then to continue with your practical experience. Yeah, you need a good basis for how things are done, or how things are organized in a certain way. And then as Buğrahan said, the volunteering is a good thing, like at National Federation or esport clubs and so on, that you gain experience. I mean, we all learned from our past, yeah, the events, and I can remember my first events, I did not perfect, and that's good. So yeah, because nobody's perfect, and even now I do certain small mistakes, or even big mistakes can occur. Yeah, so it's not to be something to be ashamed of. If you have a wrong decision or something, it's important to also learn that you, when you are an umpire, to have a certain behavior, how you are as an umpire. So to have a strict way, how you follow rules, how you apply it to them, and keep it. Yeah, I mean, if you recognize that this is not the good way, then adapt it, change it for the better one. Yeah, but don't decide on one tournament, yeah, this is a penalty, and on another tournament same thing occurs, and then you umpire it in a different way. That should not be, and that's a thing which can be taught on paper. So never change your way of umpiring. Either you have to, because it's not practical for the next tournaments in the future. It's not good for these situations. Yeah. Always keep in touch with your colleagues, always improve, yeah, and also like tournament structures and so on, like the basics, yeah. This is the key points which can be taught, and then you can start umpiring and then find your way how to umpire things. Yeah.
I definitely agree. Consistency is extremely important, especially when you're enforcing the rules of tournaments. And I think it's also very important to have an understanding of why you should interpret things in a certain way. But Pedro, what do you think are the key factors for academic umpire course?
I 100% agree with what has been said so far, honestly. I agree, and definitely practical knowledge and practical experience are key. Absolutely, as a referee, you need that. You need that experience, because it's something you're only going to experience in the field. You're not. There are things that will happen as you are refereeing that will never be taught to you in a theoretical way, because they are unpredictable, and you need to understand that unpredictable things will happen, and you need to learn how to deal with that in a certain way. But they're not going to be taught to you, because they are exactly what they are. They are unpredictable. They're not going to be taught to you in a theoretical way. You need to learn it by practice. But there are a certain range of skills academically that can certainly help. For example, as I said, languages can help you a lot when communicating with foreign international players, with team managers that speak other languages. It will definitely help you. It has definitely helped me when doing my job. Basic IT skills in order for you to help troubleshoot certain technical issues for players, understanding, for example, how peripherals work, some softwares, some configurations will certainly help you. I don't necessarily think you need to be an expert because that is an entire other skill set that you would need to specialize in. But if you can learn learn it at a basic level, it will save you time and save you the trouble of having to have to call in an IT tech, for example, to sort out an issue that could be simply solved by 1 or 2 or 3 steps. And if you know them, it will save you a lot of time. You will be able to support your players better, and that would certainly help you. Also, you need to familiarize yourself with the competition formats. You need to study that. You need to understand that there are certain competition formats that are more suitable to certain games than others. That you need to understand as well that when you're studying a rule set, there's a logic behind the rules. Aside from understanding how the rule is or how the rule works, and that it is there, you need to understand the logic that built that rule. Because many times you will have to educate players in that aspect. Players will ask you, why does this rule work like this? Why is it like this? And as a referee, you will feel much safer when doing your job if not only you know the rules or where they are in the rule set, but if you understand the logic that is behind them. And that is certainly something that will help you.
I definitely think that's a very insightful note to end our panel on. And I see we have started to get in some questions. And the first one is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy will you be when esports events are being held live again? I know for myself, I definitely miss them a lot, so it'll be a 10. But I'd be interested in hearing what your guys' point of view and the scale on this is. Buğrahan, would you mind starting off, and then we'll go to Marko and Pedro after you?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely 10. Because offline event experience is different, man. It's the actual esports spirit. Fans are there, teams are there, casters are there. You are communicating with the players face to face. You witness their excitement. You watch the games from players' screen. You talk with them at the stage. It's really different. I really miss them. I really miss offline events.
I definitely agree. And you, Marko?
Yeah, for me, it's sure N11. Yeah, because I miss them a lot, and also like Buğrahan said, it's the atmosphere. I miss the people. I miss my colleagues to work with them in physical way. It's always a good team building exercise, actually. And yeah, I hope we will get over this pandemic soon, and that there will be a normal life again with esports events worldwide, offline. And yeah, but can't wait to be on the stage again.
Are you, Pedro? Are you a 10 or 11?
Definitely 11, 12, 13, and so on. I really, really miss live events. Personally, I decided to become a referee at the moment I decided this is what I wanted to do as a job was at a live event, was in my first live event experience. When I experienced my first live event tournament, I remember exactly where I was, and I remember incredible detail on when the thought came to my mind that, yeah, this is what I want to do. Because at the moment I was standing on stage behind the players, seeing the audience, seeing that atmosphere, and it's definitely unique. And only by being there, if you like doing this kind of thing, only by being there and experience it, you will know what it feels like. So definitely hoping that live events will come back very, very soon.
I definitely agree. Moving on to our second question. are the majority of issues encountered by referees caused by technical complications? I think, Marko, you can take the lead on this one.
Yeah, I would say from my experience, yes. So I would say it's kind of 80% technical issues and 20% issues caused by the players, participants, or any other things. Yeah. So of course, esports is electronical environment, and of course, the majority of the issues which are occurring are by technical issues, like said it be game servers, clients, internet power problems, or setups on the operating systems and so on. So yeah, but we should not forget about participant and other issues as well. So often we also have to forget about technical issues and solve some social skilling or show some social skills to handle disputes. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And Pedro, what do you think are some of the other problems other than technical complications that are quite common, especially regarding online events?
I would say theoretical problems. As I said, I usually, for the past few years, have focused on supporting amateur players and amateur competitions. And especially for amateur players, there will be many times where we will be providing player support on a theoretical level, explaining to them how the tournament works, how rules work. A funny situation I had about a few months ago was this was funny. We have had players asking us at the day of the tournament, like 30 minutes before, so what is this? And we asked, what do you mean? What is this? What's the tournament like? Is this best of one, best of three, best of? And I just went, okay, so the players are not aware of how the tournament is played. We had to explain to them the format because they had not read the rules, even though they had access to them. And it was more than one person, actually. And it is very different and very situation from game to game, from community to community. You will have very different experiences. If you are the type of referee that will work in different games and in different settings, you will see that communities and players, they behave very differently from one another. But those situations can certainly happen, and you will need to basically provide support on that level as well.
I agree. I think between that and the technical elements, those are the most common issues with online events. Buğrahan, I think our third question kind of suits your background perfectly. And the question is, are some games easier to cheat on than others? Or are there some games that are more difficult to referee than others?
Yes, definitely. Especially if the games don't have their own security kind of security implications, you have to face some cheats. And also, for example, me, I'm not interested so much in mobile games. So that's why mobile games are too hard. Not too hard, but it's more difficult than computer games to organize their tournaments because I am not so close to them. Yeah. What else I can add? I think that's it.
Pedro, what's the most difficult games for you to umpire?
Personally, probably tactical FPS. Because there are certain tactical FPS games that have certain nuances and certain know-how that you certainly need to work on and do research. Because, well, as the name says, there is a very tactical aspect to them, and you need to be familiar with them. And there will come situations when it can be very hard to make a decision on a certain situation or support players in that way. So I would say, yeah, definitely from my experience, tactical FPS.
Johan, I don't hear you.
Oh,
Sorry.
my apologies. Is there any areas in esports that you don't like? And I think on top of that, you can lead us into the fourth question, which is, does the dynamic nature of esports with so much change year on year with respect to game titles and update make the job of an esports referee more difficult?
I mean, I would say, yeah, difficult games. I mean, as Buğrahan said, if you don't have so much experience like he has in mobile games, of course, it's more difficult to umpire them because you lack of experience. But I would say the most difficult games for me are like the battle royale games, or games where you have a lot of participants in one lobby. So therefore, more things can occur, right? And even online. I mean, we set up a whole Fortnite tournament with lobbies of 100 people playing on the same time, and of course there can happen a lot of people, but therefore you need a lot of more referees, right? And yeah, the question 4 is, yeah, sure, it's a kind of making it more difficult with this dynamic nature of esports, but it comes with experience. For me, for example, if there are new game titles or anything else, or you have to adapt the rules. For example, for League of Legends, they patch their game every year with big patches, big changes, and therefore you also have to apply the rule sets. But if you have a good team behind this, if you have a good structure, if you have people who are supporting you in this kind of meta, you invest some weeks of work and change these topics. But I think that's the thing which makes it a little bit spicy and interesting, that you never know what happens, and that the things can change on everyday basis. So I like this. Call me crazy, but I like this thing. It's keep it interested.
Awesome. I think the next one would be good for Buğrahan, as he's had a lot of professional level experience as well. And it is, are there any cultural differences or considerations that complicate a referee's job from one market to the next?
I'm sorry, but I didn't meet any cultural differences or considerations that complicate my job, so I can't answer this question. I answered the question, but as I said, I didn't meet.
Pedro, how about you?
Are there any cultural differences? Not necessarily, I don't think so, because generally we work with games that are, well, worldwide developed. They are online games, so I don't think so, because the basics work for everyone. Differences that can happen would be probably from tournament to tournament, but that would be more related to the tournament's necessities, the competition necessities and goals. For example, if you're working a tournament that is more specifically directed to professional or amateur players, those nuances can certainly happen. But on a cultural level, I don't think so. I don't think there is that much impact, or at least nothing comes to mind right now.
And then on our final question, we have to each one of the panelists, how did your career as esports referee begin to take shape? Marko, will you start us off?
Yeah, actually, my career as referee started off actually when I helped organizing first tournaments at my university. So we won an event by Riot Games, which was the prize for the best concept, how you would do a tournament. And therefore, there were everything needed, like a project manager, umpires, casters, and so on. And as I knew a lot of people in the community and in the scene, because I was a player myself, I said, okay, I can with the people, I know them. So it would be the best that I am being in charge of the referee. And then from there on, my career started, and I got more and more interested in this topic. And then I went to the National Federation and got my official license then there, yeah. And then, yeah, kept me then in shape where I'm today.
We can't hear you, I think.
Oh, Pedro, how did your career start as an esports referee?
Well, at the time I was out of a job at the moment, literally, and I was honestly looking for something to occupy my time, something to do while I was in between jobs. And I started taking part as a translator in a gaming community, a gaming group. I am trained academically as a translator, and they wanted to have translations in our home language for the community. So I started helping out with that, and I started getting to know the people there. And after about 1 or 2 months, came an opportunity to work as a referee. I heard that Inygon was looking for referees to join a project, and I applied, and since then never stopped. I received some training from my predecessors, and then, well, since then it's been almost 6 years with amazing experiences and a lot of fun.
Buğrahan, you've touched on a little bit how your esports referee career has started. So if you would just rehash some of that in a summary for us, for those who might not have tuned in earlier. And I think after that, we can move on to some last points from everyone that I know some of you have been burning to share that might not have been covered in the questions.
For me, it started with Riot Games. I was also a referee before the TCL, but it was not professional. I was the president of World Esports. It was University Esports Club. At that time, I organized lots of tournaments, but when I take an offer from Riot Games Turkey, my esports career began to shape.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So is there any last points that any of the panelists would like to share that the audience might find beneficial on the topic?
Yeah, as I said before, I would wish for the future that we get everyone at the table, every stakeholder, for the betterment to develop a referee education independently if it's academic or a licensing system. So I would really appreciate to move on with everyone in the world together for esports, because that's our aim and that's what should be done. Yeah.
Marko, Buğrahan, do any of you guys have any last points?
I just want to say, if you have dreams about the work at esports sector, please follow it because it's awesome.
I definitely think we can agree with that. Pedro, do you have any last points?
100% stand behind that. I believe that this is just the beginning. I think that esports will grow much, much, much larger, much, much more evolved in the next few years. It won't take a lot of time for us to see a big difference in the next 2-3 years. Esports may be a whole lot more evolved, and I think that definitely we are on the right track to moving in a positive direction in all aspects for the industry. So I completely stand by what our colleagues have said here. If you have a dream to work in esports, keep up, do your work, and sooner or later the opportunities are going to come to you.
Awesome. I see we have got one last question that's just come in. Should the education be specific and focused on genre, or overall in general based on your experience? I think just to end this one off, Marko, would you mind leading on this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this question is quite interesting. So I would say for the basic stuff, you should have a basic overview about which genres exist and so on. But I think there should also be genre-specific courses which then focus on more detailed oddities, general aspects. This is very important, and we sure aim for this in the future. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And do you, Pedro, Buğrahan, do any of you guys have anything to add on to what Marko said?
I agree with Marko, actually.
Same here. There isn't much to add from my standpoint. I think he's spot on.
I definitely agree as well. And I think if there is anything that would be beneficial, it's possibly the creation of a type of repository for the technical parts of specific games and the technical issues, more than actually creating kind of specific courses. I think a technical repository would be extremely beneficial. I know there's been times that I've wanted one of those when I've done events. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. Sharing information is absolutely essential. I think right now, the information on esports and specific fields and topics are very, very spread out. And having it centralized and, how should I say this, filtered, because we live in an age of information where we fortunately have access to a lot of information, but not all of it can be precise or help you in a positive way. You need to filter that. So having access to a hub of information that has been filtered, that you can be sure comes from a reliable source and that will help you do your job, I would be very, very thankful to do that, because right now, depending on the game you're working with, depending on your experience, depending on what you need to find out and know, in order to prepare yourself for certain tournaments, you have to sometimes take several hours to do research in order to familiarize yourself with the aspects of your work and what you're going to be doing.
I definitely agree. I think that's been a very good and insightful note to end on. And I think with that as our closing statements, I would just like to thank the IESF for this opportunity and thank the panelists for joining and all of your insightful comments and statements on all of the topics, especially surrounding the help and support of academic education for referees.
Yeah, thank you for having us and for the moderating, and also thank you for IESF for participating in this panel.
It was really informative, and also thank you guys. Your comments were so precious.
And thank you for everyone that's tuned in. And I think that's a close for us on the panel, and we've certainly all enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us, for having us, and for this great time we've had with this discussion. See you soon.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon.
Well,
bye.